Hey guys, it's Chevy here. I'm gonna take this one over because Katy is drunk and passed out. So, about Venom the Duck. Now, I haven't done one of these in a while, so I thought it'd be pretty cool to kind of go over him a little bit, see what I learned about the character, and see maybe what you guys have learned about the character. I have him as a 3-star, and I know he was kind of underrated before I started playing with him, but the thing about Venom the Duck is he really excels in the long fights. I mean, he starts getting stronger and stronger as the fights go on because he's got this cool little thing where he gets to bank or store buffs, and he can store up to 10 buffs, 3 per fight, and that you can kind of choose which ones you want to store. So, you know, you can choose Furies, crits, regeneration, armor, power gain, and stuff like that. But, so let's just take a real quick look and take a look at him and see what we got. Let's look at his stats here real quick. So, his attack rating, you know, it's not very high. It falls in pretty much, well, it falls in at 476, and so this chart is, I have all my 3 stars maxed out, and like I said, Venom the Duck is a 3-star, so his attack here is right around average. It's higher on, it's definitely on the higher end, but that doesn't matter because his attack at the beginning of the fight isn't that great, but you're going to see as the fights progress, it gets better and better. So now let's look at his health. His health is on the higher end of the spectrum, and he is kind of tanky. He's right up there with King Groot, Mcoc, Korg. You know, like I said, he's pretty tanky. So that kind of makes sense. Now his crit rating, his damage, it's on the lower end, but like I said, that doesn't matter because, oh my god, you guys, you're going to be able to see how you're going to be able to take that up between fights. So even though his base stats are low, I'm going to show you that it really doesn't hurt him, like at all. So as you can see here, he does have some of the lowest armor rating and block proficiency out of the characters in the game, but this really doesn't matter, and you'll see why. It does, like, he is kind of tanky, so, but the thing is too, you're going to be able to store all these different buffs with this champ, and you can either decide to store them for, you know, more offensively or more defensively. I think the majority of people are going to go more offensively, but, you know, his low crit damage and armor and block rating, they're on the low, but you're going to see how we're going to fix that real quick. Alright, so looking at his signature ability and how this, he doesn't necessarily need to be awakened for him to be useful, but it does help the twisted mutations, which grant the aberration effect of 7.4% at the start of the fight, as well as following special attack enhancement 21% siphon damage during special ones, which get a little boost to toxic armor duration, and you get a percentage boost to your aberration charge, excuse me, after a special 3. So what are all those? Alright, so this little buff, this is a little black symbol here. Oh, it's not really a buff, it's this little black symbol at the corner here, and it starts from a certain level depending on your signature level, and also some synergies do have an effect. Now, higher starts tend to hit 100 quicker, and it resets to 0. Then you get a random buff in the pool, and you can get a crit buff, you can get a fury buff, an armor buff, power gain, and then so once that buff is active, if you have a special ready, preferably like a special 1 or special 2, it will take that buff and it will store it in what is called your RNA bank, and then you'll have it for every single fight. And so basically you go, oh, there is some sort of penalty for stacking so many of a certain type, but here are the different buff categories that you can get. So like I said, you can get a Fury, Precision, power gain. Those are definitely offensive buffs, and they are very useful. Defensive buffs you can get are armor up, regen, and you can also get a perfect block. But the critical hits are 55% chance to bleed. You can do bleed damage over 5.5 seconds, and so you know you can start getting your attack up because a good amount of bleeds, ooh, buddy. And this is the most important part here. Launching a special attack and heavy all simply removes the buffs stored in the RNA bank, and then basically adds them up. So you can have 10 buffs in the RNA bank, and you start with the buffs that you have stored every single time you start a fight after you get them added into your RNA bank. So that's pretty awesome. So how do you get these buffs? Well, each strike has an 85% chance to siphon additional 20% health from the opponent as direct damage and feed it to the little aberration effect, gaining 10% charge. So, you know, going through this character, it seems like what you want to do is get your buffs, and you want to use your special 1 to get those, to store those buffs, and then after you want to use your special 2 or your special 3, preferably your special 2. It's pretty cool. And then you have a 75% chance to apply the toxic armor, and so that toxic armor deals up to 90% additional direct damage based on how high the opponent's armor. So this seems like a way to put a quote-unquote armor buff on a champion, and when you strike it, you do way more damage. So that is pretty cool. It could also be used on like a debuff immune, because it's not technically a debuff. I don't know if it would work on something like someone like Civil Warrior who already has it. I don't know if those armors actually go against him or not, but this might be something that we test out. Alright, so now let's look at Venom the Duck's synergies. He has quite a few synergies. I mean, he's got quite a few as a 3. I think he's got more as a 4 or 5 star. He's got Frenzy symbiote buff with Carnage. We definitely want that. He has a 20% chance to activate a survival symbiote buff, and so since we're going for attack, we're going to kind of forget about that one with Agent Venom and symbiote Spidey. Alright, this one right here, 35% ability accuracy with Domino. She's always a good one to have on the team, so let's keep her in mind. 50% regen symbiote with Groot. If we decide to stack or store regens, they'll be 15% more effective. So, you know, keep in mind. The Hive Mind. This is the most effective one with Venom. 40% chance or 40% aberration at the start of each fight. Okay, and Blade here, the bleed debuff duration lasts 18% longer, so that's definitely a good one to have. I know Venom the Duck has a synergy with Howard the Duck, but unfortunately as a 3 star, we don't get that synergy, so we're just going to go ahead and put Domino in right here. Alright, now let's go have some fun. As you can see, for the first fight, we're up against Hood, and we don't have any buffs active. We're not going to do a lot of damage. It is the first fight. We do have class disadvantage here. So basically, like I said, your first fight, and actually probably up until you get to your third fight, you're going to be on the lower side of damage. Now you see his little black buff in the corner there. You can see how it's ramping up as soon as it gets up to 100, he'll get a new buff. Alright, so now we got a precision buff. So if I want to, say, bank it, I'm going to launch my special 1, and you can see it added in the charge up right near the picture of the character. So now I will have that buff for my next fight, or if I launch my special 3, I'll have it. And as you can see, I also stored an armor up buff. So I've got 2 buffs stored in the bank, and that took, you know, 40 hits, which it shouldn't have. Alright, so now we're at the beginning of the next fight against Winter Soldier, and you can see we have the armor up buff and the precision buff that we stored in the RNA bank from the fight before. I probably shouldn't have stored that armor up buff, but, you know, I really wasn't paying attention. Alright, so now I have a regen buff, and I decide I don't want to store that buff, so I'm going to hold out, let it expire, and wait to cast my special until I get a buff that I want. So the next buff to come up is another precision. So we're going to go ahead and launch that. Oh, and now we have a power gain. So I'm going to launch that special one, put it in the bank. So now I've got 3 buffs, and you can get 3 buffs per fight. So technically I could pick up to, I should have been able to pick up 6 buffs by now, but you know, 3 buffs per fight. So I was slacking. So now at the start of the fight I had the armor up, the precision, and the power gain. So now I launched my special one, and that took those, it basically copied those buffs and put them in the bank. So basically so now I have 2 precision, 2 armor up, and 2 power gain. So I don't want to store this perfect block chance, even though I did launch my special, but I already have the 3 from this fight because I launched my special one at the start when I had all those 3 buffs active. Okay, so now we're at the next fight, and you can see the 6 buffs that I have. It's 2 of the armor up, 2 of the precision, and 2 of the power gain, which I had copied from the last fight. So I have a total of 6 buffs. I'll tell you what, if I had 6 precision or 6 furies, I would be doing a crazy amount of damage. Like that fury right there, I would have loved to have gotten that, but I can't because I've already got my buffs captured. But the really cool thing I like about Venom the Duck is you can really play this character however you want. I mean, like, it's pretty cool. And there are definitely beneficial ways to how you play him, whether you want to stack up furies or precision or whatever. So now I have 3 armor ups, 3 precision, and 3 power gains. And look how much power I'm gaining. So I'm going to launch my special, and now I've got my 10 charges. I don't know which one of those buffs I got. You can only have, I can only have one of those copied, so I won't know until I go into the next fight which one copied. Okay, so now it looks like that I copied the precision. Yeah, I copied the precision buff. So I'm doing a lot more damage, as you can tell. So, I mean, look at that. Look at Wolby go down. I mean, the bleeds, they're a little bit better. You got to remember, though, this is only a 3-star, so just imagine what maybe a 5-star could do. This strategy would definitely be beneficial by the time you get to the boss in any questing. You should have at least, 10 buffs going, and not to mention that you still get the random buffs. So that is pretty cool, when the countdown resets back to 0. So I think that's pretty awesome. So I guess technically you could have up to 11 buffs, which is still pretty cool. Okay, now the problem with this little Carnage guy here is he's got power gain, so I don't get to, use my specials how I want them. I could have, with the power gain that I had, I probably could have launched the special 3, gain the power back up and just put it all on a loop. But with this power gain that this Carnage has, I'm just trying to play it simple here and, trying to bait out Carnage's specials and just letting Venom the Duck do his normal things. I don't want to push Carnage to that special 3. Okay, so now we launch the special 2, and he gets the toxic armor there. I really do enjoy those special 2 animations. And Carnage finally goes down. Okay, so now this is just another example of a fight with 10 charges, and as you can see, I've got Furies and Power Gain. I've got 5 of each. So look at that. Look at the power that I'm gaining. It's insane. He's already up to a special 2 after I think of, what, like 5 or 6 hits? So, and look how quick Wolvie goes down. Alright, so now we're going back into the Carnage fight. He has the same power gain. So now we're going to see how effective this is with the 5 power gain and the 5 Furies. So I'm gaining power like crazy. I'm gaining power more than he is right now. So that's pretty impressive. I really want to launch some of those specials, but I gotta wait because I don't want to push him to a special 3. Plus, if I would have launched the specials, it would have brought those buffs back. And I would have just constantly gone on a loop. So you just pretty much throw the special, special 3, power gain back, let it build up, launch the special 3 again. So anyway, I think Venom the Duck is a pretty awesome character. I think he's actually going to be extremely beneficial for questing. How effective he is in war, I'm not so sure. You would need to get through at least 4 fights to get all your buffs, and the first fight you start out with none. So even on the easier part of the path, by the time you get up to the mini boss, you should have your 10 buffs going. So, I mean, he could be effective in offense. In war, and he's also not so synergy dependent. I think the best synergy is definitely with Venom, and to keep his bleeds pretty high, I would definitely say Blade would be another good way to go. So, what are my final thoughts on Venom the Duck? Definitely great for questing. He'd be fantastic for questing. You can use him. Maybe offensively in war. I wouldn't recommend probably using him defensively though, because you do want to stack up those buffs in order to get the 10 buffs. So definitely probably not defense, maybe offense in war, not totally sure. But he'd be definitely good, like I said, for questing. I know I've said that before and it's like I'm on repeat. But with those buffs, and by the time you get to the boss, you should have your 10 buffs, and especially if you can pick and choose, if you want to store your Furies and your power gain or your precision, that's the way to go. His specials, they're really easy to evade, especially his special 1 and special 2, they're not hard to evade. His heavies are pretty easy to evade, so kind of a downfall if you're playing him offensively. Also, I find him to be kind of clunky, like kind of tanky, and I have issues with clunky and tanky characters, but that's just a personal opinion of mine. He does take a while to ramp up, kind of like maybe a cross between Corvus and Carnage, but the damage he does when you stack those buffs, it's awesome. And like I said, it kind of reminds me of like a mashup between Corvus and Carnage. So that's pretty cool. I think Kabam did a fantastic job with this character. I was skeptical at first, I will say that, but now that I've got my hands on him and played with him, even just as a 3-star, I am pleasantly surprised. So let me know if you guys can think of anything that I missed, or if you guys have any tricks that you want to share. Please let me know in the comments below. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks guys. Bye!